Our top story here at noon. We're hearing from one of the people accusing the University of Kentucky's former swim coach of sexual assault. The suit claims Lars Jorgensen sexually assaulted the swimmers, and the school purposely disregarded multiple reports of inappropriate and sexual relationships. It names athletic director Mitch Barnhart, the school, and Jorgensen. Well, former swimmer and assistant coach Briggs Alexander and a Jane Doe filed that lawsuit last week. Alexander and his attorneys held a news conference this morning to talk about these allegations.
I think that Lars abused me in a lot of different ways, emotionally, spiritually, physically, sexually, and he did so under the guise of he was doing what was best for me.
Now, that lawsuit also alleged former head coach Gary Connolly did not follow up when told of previous alleged misconduct by Jorgensen at Toledo. It said Barnhart did not follow up in an email about wrongdoings or investigate them, and then hired Jorgensen. Barnhart said he cannot comment on this lawsuit while it's under investigation. We are learning more about the new contract between Metro Louisville and the Fraternal Order of Police. Mayor Craig Greenberg and Chief Jacqueline Gwynn Villarreal addressed the contract's progress today. It addresses issues like working conditions and job benefits. One of the main issues is pay increase, plus mental and physical health care support for these officers. The mayor said they plan to hold officers accountable through more thorough misconduct investigations and body camera video. As of April 2nd, the department is short about 280 officers. Today, Greenberg said a former officer will be returning to the department after hearing details of this new contract.
I said hello to him. I encouraged him to check out the new contract and come back, and he told me he was one step ahead of me because he already was coming back. When he heard about this new contract, he decided that he is going to leave his job and come back to LMPD. So I firmly believe that while that is just one story, there are going to be many more like that to help bring folks back to LMPD.
Now, if both proposals pass Metro Council, all LMPD officers and sergeants will see an immediate 7% boost in pay. Another round of raises would go into effect in July, bringing starting officer pay to $60,552 a year. TARC leaders faced some tough questions from Metro Council as they presented budget cuts they say are needed for the agency to stay afloat. Those cuts will mean fewer routes and drivers. Our Taylor Woods and photojournalist Eddie Hill explain.
TARC riders like Adana Choate are bracing themselves for TARC to have less routes available in January 2025.
It bothers me because it takes away from the parents that have to get to work to provide for their children.
This decision comes after the transit system has been facing what they call a fiscal cliff. Service reductions mean some TARC drivers will lose their job. TARC administration presented the budget they've been surviving on for years in front of Metro Council, sharing how they project $140 million of COVID funds to be exhausted by June 2025.
I can tell you this, and this is my 11th agency. I've been here almost 34 years, and this is the toughest budget I've ever had to bring over here.
TARC Interim Executive Director Ozzie Gibson says their operating budget expenses will be close to $110 million by 2025. Without the cuts, TARC leaders say there could be a budget gap as much as $30 million by mid-2026.
And yet you're saying we can't make up 15% cost reduction on a 20% reduction in labor. It's just not mathing for me.
Some council members question the numbers and urge TARC leaders to look for other solutions.
I would advise that you all go back to the drawing board.
When asked if layoffs were absolutely going to happen, Gibson said yes.
Probably is going to be somewhere, but could be 60 as high as 80.
TARC Union President Lillian Brent says at the end of the day, several families are going to be impacted.
It's going to be a layoff. It's still funding issues, even if they go back to the drawing board.
In Louisville, Taylor Woods, WHAS11 on your side.
Now, those route changes are referred to as Saturday Plus, which means there will be less frequent service Monday through Friday. The agency's 4 busiest routes will not be affected. Those are 4th Street, Dixie Rapid, Broadway, and Preston Highway. The JCPS board has approved the district's priorities for the next 5 years, among them increasing the percentage of 5th, 8th, and 12th graders who score ready on the JCPS academic readiness test. They also want to increase the number of 3rd and 8th graders who meet or exceed benchmarks in reading and math with the MAP assessments. These measure academic progress, and to meet the goals, the district established guardrails like increasing safety and more communication among parents and staff.
350! When do we want it? Now!
Holding signs and chanting, JCPS custodians rallied outside the board meeting. Since the pandemic, they've been earning a $3.50 hourly premium, but the federal funding is set to expire on June 30th. Union members say they can't afford to lose that money.
Become a part of our everyday living now. We've been able to afford reliable transportation to and from work. It's been allowed us to pay our bills and provide groceries for our families.
The union is asking the board to make that $3.50 premium a permanent part of the budget moving forward. In a statement, a JCPS spokesperson said, "We will soon begin pay negotiations and will share information with the employees at the end of that process." Norton Children's just opened its Center for Safe and Healthy Kids, located on the Home of the Innocents campus. The center will now serve thousands of child abuse and maltreatment patients across Kentucky and southern Indiana. It'll be staffed with doctors, nurses, nurse practitioners, a social worker, and other clinicians specifically trained in identifying, treating, and preventing abuse and neglect.
Norton Children's Center for Safe and Healthy Kids will allow us to serve more children, more families, both in addressing maltreatment, but also enhancing those prevention efforts that are just so critical.
April is Child Abuse Prevention Month, and the latest federal report shows Kentucky's rate of child abuse victims is higher than the national average, meaning about 12 out of every 1,000 children in the Commonwealth experience some type of maltreatment. The U.S. average is 7.